Thank you, Your Worship, and I also want to thank Chair Tierney for aggressively devising and advancing this motion and doing it in collaboration with many colleagues around this table. Automated speed enforcement cameras have been the most effective road safety tools our city has deployed. Consequently, I strongly urge this council to support this motion and advocate for their continuation in the face of the province's legislation tabled this week to ban their use. Let's be very clear about what's at stake here. This is not about revenue. This is not about inconveniencing drivers. This is about saving lives. The data tells us a story that should matter to every single one of us around this table. Before we installed speed cameras, only 16% of drivers were complying with posted speed limits in these zones. 16%. This means 84 out of every 100 vehicles were breaking the law in areas specifically designated because of safety concerns, near our schools, near our playgrounds, where our children walk and play. Within 3 years of camera installation, compliance jumped to 81%. That's more than a 4-fold increase. But here's the number that should really capture our attention. High-end speeders, drivers going more than 15 kilometers per hour over the limit, dropped from 14% to just 0.7%. That's a 95% reduction in the most dangerous driving behavior. Think about what that means on the ground. At schools across our city, we're seeing compliance rates above 90%, with high-end speeding reduced to fractions of a percentage point. These are not just statistics. These are children arriving safely at school. These are families walking to the park without fear. And colleagues, we know these cameras work because drivers themselves have told us so. When we surveyed Ottawa residents this past August, 69% of people who received tickets said it changed their driving behavior. That's not punishment, that's education. That's creating lasting change in how people operate vehicles in our community. The public supports this approach overwhelmingly. 83% of Ottawa residents support speed cameras in school zones. 80% support them near parks and playgrounds. These aren't fringe opinions. This is a clear community consensus that we have a responsibility to protect our most vulnerable road users. And yet, colleagues, we find ourselves in an absurd situation. Just over the past 3 weeks, the city installed a new speed camera on Donald Street in Rideau-Rockcliffe ward, a camera that residents in our community have been advocating for over the last 5 years. In fact, Chair Tierney and myself met with a principal on Donald Street not that long ago talking about the potential of these cameras. A camera that would address speeding concerns beside 2 schools on Donald Street. But we can't turn them on. These cameras will sit there, installed at taxpayers' expense, ready to make that street safer, and we won't be able to activate them because of the province's impending decision. Think about the message that sends to area residents who recently lost a young child to a traffic incident who attended one of those schools. Think about the frustration of knowing we have the solution right there, but our hands are tied. Now, I've heard the criticism. I've heard people call this a cash grab. Let us address that directly. Revenue from fines and penalties generated by speed cameras are reinvested into the city's road safety action plan, not into general revenues, not into other programs, into road safety initiatives specifically designed to reduce fatal and major injury collisions. If we were truly all about revenue, we'd be celebrating when ticket numbers go up. Instead, we celebrate when they go down, because it means drivers are slowing down and our streets are safer. We understand that the province has the authority to make this decision, but authority and wisdom are not always the same thing. The Premier has suggested we use speed bumps, flashing signs, and other measures instead. And I'm not opposed to using any of those tools where appropriate, because we can't install them on arterial roads. But we should be using every effective tool available. But why would we voluntarily discard the one tool that has produced such dramatic, measurable results? Colleagues, I urge this council to make its position clear. We need to advocate loudly to the province. We need to engage with AMO. We need to make sure that this case is driven by data, with community support, and with the fundamental principle that local governments should have the tools they need to keep our residents safe. Let's stand up for evidence-based policy, let's stand up for community safety, and let's stand up for the tools that work. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor King. Councillor Plante.
Yes, and before I begin, I want to thank Councillor King for taking us all on a wonderful journey there, and my deepest